Hello and welcome back to Glassboxed, writing automated JavaScripts. Today we are going to talk about page objects and how we use page objects to write automated tests. So in this video we will cover what page objects are and how they relate to WebDriver, why we would or should use page objects when writing automated tests, and actually write some page objects and use them in a test. So first things first, what is a page object? Well, let's have a quick look at our website and have a look at the various web pages. So as you can see, each web page has many links and text body, text headings. If we go to the contact page, for instance, we have fields, buttons. If we take the entire field into account, then you can say it has a form. So another way to summarize is that each page has various kind of elements on it, and these elements are, as far as WebDriver or Selenium is concerned, are referred to as web elements. And the page object pattern is used to represent these web elements as a whole object, and to achieve this we use the page object. So for instance, if we were on the home page, we could have a Java class that could be used to click on these links, get the heading if we want to, get the body of the text. It could be used to say click on the adoption page, which would give us another page object which is equal to this particular page, which can give us more information that directly relates to this page. It might sound a little confusing at the moment, but it will become clearer as we go on. Now, first things first, right? Let's have a look at a test that we wrote. So this is a test which doesn't use any page objects, and at the moment it's just creating an instance of WebDriver, creating in the Firefox browser, navigating to our website, and then clicking on various links using various different locators. So when you actually take a deeper look at this, you can see that the instance of driver is being used many times, and it doesn't look very clean. Also notice that we're kind of using the direct code that's found in the HTML page in our test, and this also isn't very good for reasons I'll explain. So for instance, if our ID for the contact link was to change, then at the moment it doesn't really matter. We've only got the one test, and we come and you change it in one place, and that's fine. But let's just say we've got a gigantic web application and we're writing various different tests. So we have tests in the tenths or hundreds, or in some cases even thousands, when you've got long-running applications, and you need to change the value of this in each and every single one of your tests. Someone would have to go through and change them in each and every test, and that's not very meaningful. Through pages we can actually do this in a really easy way, and we can only do it in one place. So this means that using page objects can actually help us to make more sense of what our test is trying to do, and actually help us maintain our test a little bit better as well. So why don't we actually give it a go? Let's write a page object. So before writing a page object, I'm just going to quickly explain the flow that we're going to try and write a test for. So what we're going to do is, in our test, we're going to navigate to the home page, if you like. We are going to click on the contact, we're going to fill in the form, and we're going to press send. So if I just really quickly fill it in, and then we get a result page or a contact confirm page, and we're going to create page objects for each page. And as we go along, you'll see how this kind of helps us to write a test for better maintainability in the long run. So let's create our first page object. Right, so let's close that. So what we'll do is, in fact, let's just create our test first, just the skeleton of the test. So let's call it contact message test. finish. I'm just gonna really quickly just populate the skeleton of the test. Public test setup. So this is our after method. What should we call the test? Should send contact message. There we go. Annotate this with the test annotation. Import in the necessary classes. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do is, let's create our WebDriver as well here. So here what we're going to do is just instantiate it. Actually, let's not do that for the moment. Let's just do that. And here we're just going to close it. So at the moment, all we're doing is just setting up the framework for it. Right, of course, driver. What am I doing? Okay, so all our test is at the moment it does nothing, but for the moment it's just set up to create a new Firefox browser, and then when the test starts, and when the test finishes, it's just going to close it. Right, so let's create our page object. So the first page we want to go to is the home page, right? So this is the first page, and we want the home page to be able to give us the ability to click on the contact page. So let's just do that. So if we go to, in fact, before we do that, because we're kind of addressing the whole kind of idea of cleanliness, let's put this in a package. Okay, and that can stay, it's not a big problem. So we're going to create the home page. So notice that the home page I'm given, for the home page object in Java, what I'm doing is I'm giving the name of the page followed by page. So if we were to create a page object for, let's just say, the adoption page, I would call the Java class adoption page. I hope that makes sense. So let's start that up. Okay. So the first thing we should do is, well, we need a constructor. So we're just going to say, right. So we're just going to say public homepage. Here I'm kind of assuming you know what constructors mean and what methods are. If this sounds confusing, then I can possibly do another video just quickly explaining what constructors are and how to make methods in Java and stuff like that, if you really want to. But for the moment, because you're kind of seeing this video for the purpose of learning how to automate, I'm assuming you've got a good grasp of the basic kind of fundamental concepts of writing Java classes. Okay, so we've got a constructor that at the moment is just empty. That's fine. What else do we need? We also said that we would write some kind of way of being able to come to this page, the home page, and being able to click on the contact link. So what we're going to do is we're just going to say contact page. Let's say click on contact, and this is going to return a new contact page. Right, so obviously contact page doesn't exist, so let's just create that as well. Again, for cleanliness, let's put this in a package as well. So let's put it in the package page objects. That sounds good. Right. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a class called contact page. It's in the right package, so that's fine to me. Okay. So when we go to the contact page, what we want to do is again write a constructor for it. And on the contact page, we want to be able to fill in the form. So let's just say public contact page fill form with data, and we want to be able to submit the form as well. So let's just say public contact. Well, when we submit the form on the contact page, we are then navigated to a contact confirmation page. So that means this method would return us a contact result page, which is going to represent our contact confirmation page. So let's just say submit form. Okay. So this is going to return a new contact page, and this is going to return a new contact result page. And let's just go ahead and create that contact result page as well. And what the result page would do is, well, we're going to create a constructor again. And all we're going to do is we just want to make sure that we're on the right page. So we're just going to get the paragraph on the page. So if I quickly go to the confirmation, we're just going to get this particular text here. So get I don't know, what should we call it? Confirmation message. Let's call it that for the moment. Return. Right. This is just to, again, all of this is bare bones. So I think we've got all our pages now. Page objects. Perfect. Now, let me explain what page objects are in a little bit detail now before we kind of go into the nitty-gritty of it, so that it makes a little bit more sense. So what does a page object actually do? Or rather, what are the rules governed by a page object pattern? So what happens is, in our test, what we want to do is basically say, I want to create a new home page, which would then give me the ability to do various things on the home page without directly having to use instances of the driver in our test. And then, once I've actually got a page, then I'm able to do something on the page, and that would return us another page object. So for example, when we come to the home page and we click on contact, it returns us a contact page object, a new instance of it, which would then return us this object. And then using this object, what we can do is we can fill in the data. So if we were to say contact page fill in form with data, that would fill in the data here. So we'd do fill data here, but this would also return us the contact page. So that means we've got the ability to fill in the page and still say within the same page object. And then we can have the option to submit the form, which will return us a different page object, i.e. the contact result page object. And on this page, we said as part of our test, we won't really do anything on the page. We're just going to be more concerned with getting data from the page for the purpose of checking that our test has finished or run or executed. So I hope so far it all makes sense. It's going to make a lot more sense as we go forward. So at the moment, obviously nothing's going to happen. So now we're going to actually use these objects. before we do that, what we now need to think about is using our WebDriver or our instance of the driver in our page objects, and then passing the same instance of the driver across the different objects. Across the different pages. Because if I were to make an instance of WebDriver here, and then another one here, and then another one here, different instances, we'd potentially end up with multiple different browsers, and we don't want that. What we want to do is use the same instances, almost kind of like pass it like you would pass a ball from one player to another, so that the same instance is used within the context of your test, but you're able to use different objects. So how can we do this? How can we use the same instance of our driver and be able to use different page objects? And it's quite straightforward, really. What we can do is we can create an abstract page, which all our pages will inherit from, and we can pass the instance that way. So if I quickly just do this, just create a new abstract page, and we're going to call it, funny enough, abstract page, and it's going to sit in the page objects, and we're just going to again just pass in a few methods and give our page objects visibility of certain things like our instance of WebDriver. So what I'm going to do is just go protected WebDriver driver, and this will contain the instance of our driver. I'm then gonna make a constructor for it, abstract page, and I'm gonna pass it the instance of driver, and I'm just gonna say this driver is equal to driver. I want to be able to get the driver. I may need it, I may not. Let's see how this goes. And as a starting point, I want my abstract page to be able to navigate me to the website. So at the moment, you've got to remember that the scope of each page object is only on the page. So that means if I want to navigate to the contact page, I can't use this page object to navigate to this page if I'm not on this page. I know that kind of sounds confusing. Another way to put it is, if I'm on the home page and I want to click on, well, there's nothing to click on. It's probably a bad example. But if I'm on the about, hold on. Alright, so if I'm on the adoption page and I want to click on this button, I can't do that from home or about contact. I need to be on this page to click this. And the only way to get to the adoption page is to click on the adoption link. So a similar concept applies. I can't come to the index page if I'm on the index page. So the navigation mechanic to go to the index page has to be somewhere else. So I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to say public home page. Let's just say navigate to web app. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, nope, I'm not going to. Yes, I will actually return new home page, and I'm going to pass the instance of the driver to the home page. Right. So let's just fix all the errors really quickly. Now you've always noticed here that this is a red line. For those who have kind of picked up, it's because this constructor here doesn't take anything, and we're going to change that now. Right, so what we're going to do is, see, we've got an instance of driver here now. We can now do this, driver dot navigate to HTTP. Let me just get this right first time. I was almost there, didn't get it. Right. And now let's just implement this in there. So this is now going to extend the abstract page and WebDriver driver super driver. Right, so what's actually happening here? Let's have a quick look. So now, if you think about this, when we call this method, which because the homepage is extended, we can call if we instantiate an instance of homepage, we are able to navigate to our web app without having to do this in our test. We won't need to use it in our test. So the kind of advantage of doing this is that we can now use this method in as many tests as we like. But if we ever need to change where we navigate to, all we have to do is come and change it here and not ever have to touch the test. One of the kind of key principles about writing tests is that once you've written a test and it's testing a functionality, usually our test is satisfying some kind of condition, and it's not very common for a condition to change, not really. So for instance, if a form is always supposed to behave in a certain way, the data that goes through the form might change, but the form itself shouldn't really change. So that means our test shouldn't really change. So if we write code or we expand our web application in one form or another and our test fails, then that could mean that something we implemented is now going outside the boundaries of the requirements for that form. So obviously we're not going to change the test because the test isn't really supposed to change, but we need to change certain things in the test, for instance, where we are navigating to, because this is a valid point. Our website could actually change. The content may not change, but our domain name could certainly change. Let's go right. So this kind of brings that advantage, and this will become really apparent as we go on. So anyway, now on the home page. So what's happening here is if we instantiate the home page and we pass it the driver, this instance of driver will pick up this driver. So our driver here becomes the same driver in the home page. Or another way to think of it is when we pass the instance of driver to it for the first time, the same copy of the driver is used always. So now let's concentrate on this. Click on contact. So here, because we now have a copy of the driver, which is inherited from abstract page, we just go driver dot what was it? Find element by ID dot click. So where is the ID of this coming from? Well, like I said, when we're on the home page and we want to click on this, if we quickly see the sorry, wrong button. If we quickly see the page source, the ID for that is contact link. So we're just gonna hook that into our test. So again, just to emphasize, if in our source this ID was to change for the home page, we only have to come and change it here, because we will never use this in our test. We would always use this method. So we change it in one place, changes it in every other test. Okay, now let's go forward. So what we're going to do is we're going to effectively carry on doing the same thing. So extends abstract page. This will also do the same thing. What we need to do is in fact, I'm going to be a little bit lazy and just copy it like this really quickly. Okay, go back, that's fine. Right, okay. So this now takes an instance of driver. Okay. Right then, so if we go back to our contact page, and this also takes an instance of driver. So when we're on the contact page, we want to be able to fill in the form. So to fill in the form, if we have a quick look at the data fields needed to be able to populate the form. So let me close that, because we're not on that page. So if we go to the contact page, look at the page, source for it, look at the form. So we're going to use the name field like before, and we're just going to refer to this. So name field, address field, postcode field, email field, and the ID for the button is submit message. Okay, so what is this? Okay, that's because I haven't saved this. If I go back, that should be fine now. Okay, so here we want to be able to fill in the form, so we can do driver.find element by ID dot send keys, right? And we have 4 fields, so let's just do this. So the first one was the name field, so we're going to give it that. The second was the address field, third was postcode, and the fourth was email. What were the names? Let's have a quick look. Name field. Okay. Address field. Postcode field. And email field. Okay, and for the button we had so this now becomes click because we are clicking on the button. It was submit message. Yep. Okay then. So what's happening now is when we call this method, it will populate all 4 fields for us and then return us a new instance of the contact page with the instance of driver. So it's going to basically return us the same page. And the reason it's going to return the same page is so that we can then submit the form later on. Some might ask, why not just submit the form here? Why not just... So some may say, why not just do this here? You know, it just makes sense. If you're going to fill in the form, why not submit it in one go? And the reason I wouldn't want to is because I might want to just submit the form and not fill it in. So by isolating these 2 mechanics, I have the ability to just submit the form without filling any data. Why might I want to submit the form without filling any data? Because my form might actually display some error messages if certain fields are blank or certain fields don't have certain data in specified formats. So for instance, the postcode might require certain formatting, the email might require certain formatting. So it's a good idea to separate these 2. And when it comes to writing tests, it will allow us to write the test a little quicker as well. Right. So now we're going to do our final page, which is contact result page. So on this page, all we're going to do is we're just going to get the paragraph, I think it was. I'm going to have a quick look. So I need to populate this really quickly. Right, so let's have a quick look at this page source. And it's a paragraph tag. I think it is the only paragraph tag. It is. So let's use that. So it'd be driver dot find elements by tag name this time. P dot get text. Right. So okay. So let's recap. What's happening? What we're going to try and do now is we're going to try and create an instance of our home page, and then use the abstract methods, in particular this one, to navigate to our website. Once we're on the website, we'll click on the contact link. Once we click on that link, it will return us a contact page object. From that, we'll be able to populate the field, populate the form, and then submit it, which would then return us a contact result page. And when we've got the result page, we'll use this method to get us the text on the page, and then we can do some kind of assertion on that text. Let's go back and actually start writing our test. So the first thing we need to do is navigate to our website. So if we just do homepage, and this is where the kind of the benefits of using page objects come in. We can, because we're not tied to using the driver instance anymore, we don't have to type driver.findElement or driver.do this or do that. We can use the page objects. We can have a little bit freedom when it comes to renaming how we kind of express our test. So we can say something like homepage, on homepage is equal to new homepage driver. Right. So what we've done here is we're creating a new instance of our homepage, and we're giving it a name of on homepage, and this is where we are passing the instance of driver, the only instance that exists in our entire application or entire test. Now what we can do is we can use this to navigate to our website. So if I do something like on homepage dot navigate to web app, this will now navigate to our web app. So if I just quickly make sure it's equals, I'm sure it'd work the other way without having to do it, but let's just do it for a cleanliness sake. We can now use this instance to do various other things. For instance, click on contact. So here what we'll do is we're going to click on the contact page, and we want to be able to save this because this returns us, if you remember, a contact page. It doesn't return us a home page anymore. So let's quickly save that. Contact page on contact page is equal to that. Now that we're on the contact page, what we're going to do is we're going to fill in the form, and then we're going to submit it, which is going to return us a contact result page. So going back a couple of videos when we were trying to just fill in the form, if you remember, we had to write a driver instance for each one of these forms. We can now do that almost with very little pain. Just call that, and because this is a page object, which is what I'm trying to express, because this is returning a contact page, we don't have to now make a new instance of it. We can quite simply do a dot submit form, and there you go. These two methods chained together because through the power of contact page, or rather through the power of the page object pattern, is now achieving a lot for us. And this returns us a contact result page. So on result page, now if we assert on the results page, so if we just get this, and we won't really do any heavy asserting, what we'll do is let's just say assert true. All we're going to say is driver, not driver. Oh, see, we're going to say on result page dot get confirmation message dot contains. Let's see. Let's fix this first really quickly. Let's just do an import assert. Okay. So let's just check for that. That looks enough for me for the moment. Right. So before we run our test, let's see what we've actually achieved here. So we're still creating an instance of we're trying to kind of handle an instance of driver. We are creating it as part of the test, and to keep it clean. We're only ever going to create an instance of the driver every time a test runs, and it'll be shut down every time it finishes. So a new instance will always be created, but only one instance will exist per test. When we invoke our page objects for the first time, we pass it the instance here, and we never pass it again, only the once. That instance is then passed along via these methods. So if you see here, when we click on the contact, this, because it's been given the instance of driver via the constructor, this driver is then passed to this page object, which then uses it to do various other things. This then passes it to the next one, and so on, so on, so on. So this in itself is incredibly powerful. So that's benefit number one. Benefit number two, we've written a test which actually is almost English readable in the sense that we're on the home page. If you read something like this, on contact page, fill form with data, submit form. So without having to understand much about what the method is doing, by looking at this, we know that we go to the contact page. When we're on the page, we fill in the form, and then we submit the form, and this returns us an on result page, which we can then use for assertions. Benefit number three, if anything we need to change as far as the test is concerned, we don't have to touch the test at all. We can navigate to whichever page object we're using. So here, for instance, let's just say we want to pass in a different data. We can change it here. Let's just say the name changes, we can change it here. Oh, I've just spotted a mistake. This is supposed to be name, not ID. Sorry about that. So where was I? Yes. So so this is a valid point. See, I mistakenly put in ID, right? But what I'm supposed to actually search for name. So one day, maybe someone might actually remove this name attribute and only have the ID element. If these fields are used in hundreds of different tests, I'd have to go and change it in every single one. But because I'm using this method to populate the data in my test, I only need to come and change it here. I don't need to change it anywhere else. And the last benefit, which is probably the biggest one, is that these page objects can be extended to your heart's content. So for instance, on the home page, we only wrote a method just to cater for this. There's nothing stopping us from writing a method for this. If we add in more functionality, so let's just say on this page we added in an image of, I don't know, a cute bunny rabbit or something. I really don't know. Maybe some header data and some footer data. All we have to do to be able to pick those information up in our test is just come to this page object and add the methods just in this class, and then in our test just pick it up as a method, and Bob's your uncle, and that's it. The effort involved doing it this way versus the effort involved in doing it this way should be pretty crystal clear, I would imagine. If we do it this way, if various things change, we'd have to change it in here and many other tests. Doing it this way, however, makes it easier to manage, and on a very kind of superficial level, it even looks cleaner. It looks more manageable. Things which are related to the home page are only in this class. Things which are related to the entire application are in the abstract class. Things which the test is only interested in actually now makes more sense, because we don't see this driver.this or driver.that. What we're seeing now is meaningful actions transitioning from one page to another. Anyway, we've talked a lot. For the moment of truth, let's run this test and see what happens. So it's picked up. We've got one test, which is which is a good start. But let's see if it's able to navigate to our web page and then do various things. So it's opened up the app. It hasn't gone to our website because I have made a mistake somewhere. Let me have a quick look. I know what it is. See, I said I wouldn't make a mistake, and I ended up making a mistake and not realizing it. What was wrong was the URL wasn't correct. So let's try again. Okay, fingers crossed. So it's found the page, perfect. Clicked on contact, filled in the thing, send submit, and it's done the assertion. So that's pretty good, isn't it? We've achieved a lot by doing very little. So if you look here, one of the beauties is we can now reuse all of these as much as we want by doing very little. There's a little bit of overhead in that we need to write the page objects, but once you've written a page object, you don't need to write it again. Well, you don't need to certainly write the same thing again. It'll just exist when you write new tests, as opposed to doing it the other way where we write driver dot whatever. We can now just create the object, call the necessary methods, and everything else will happen quite literally in the background. And that's really it. That's the benefits of using page objects and how they really help to write really quick tests, meaningful tests, maintainable tests. If you have any questions, then please leave a comment below, and if you enjoy my videos on writing automated scripts, then please subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, ciao.